Hi, my name's Craig Warburton. I live at 450 West Joy Road. In your packet is a memo from Mr. Fink dated 5/7 that indicated an RFP was put out for on a survey company. And I just called Howard and I discussed this with him that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Mr. Lewan sent out 7 letters of invitation to vendors he knew would be appropriate for this sort of work. And he got 1 respondent. Perhaps a technical point, but even a false appearance of transparency, I think, needs to be noted. This is a really important survey. I'm not quite sure why we're doing it. Mr. Lewan wrote a memo to the Planning Commission in April describing the updated method for processing the update to the master plan. And the 4th item on that list is to do a full review of the master plan. It will be conducted focusing on the results of the public opinion survey. Certainly the master plan, it being only 2.5 years old, if that's so wrong, and it's so antiquated before its expected life of 5 years, we have to do a much better job at collecting data than we did the first time. And yet, Mr. Lewan's memo didn't seem to include anything about public hearings, planning fairs, all the things that went into the formation of our existing master plan. It doesn't seem to be about data. It seems to be about personal agendas. I sat and listened to this august body talk about, without any hesitation, the drive to not let another developer get through their hands and not build in Northfield Township at whatever cost. It's been almost exactly a year. It was May 30th, 2014 that the request for the amendment to the map came from Biltmore. And this whole notion that it's not about Biltmore is a crock. This is about Biltmore, period, lock, stock, and barrel. At the last Planning Commission meeting, it became apparent, or it became knowledge, that the township manager, the Planning Commission chairperson, the planner, and at least 1 trustee met with Biltmore to get an update on the process of the annexation, of the amendment, I'm sorry. How can it not be a project if you're having meetings like that? If I call and ask about it, I'm told there's no project. There's no quantity of houses. We don't know what they want to make. And you know exactly what they want to make. I hope you're squeaky clean on the behind-the-scenes stuff, because I'm feeling like my civil rights are being more than a little violated by this group and the Planning Commission. You seem to have the books pretty well cooked. There's going to be a development, albeit I only live on 7.5 acres. I happen to be the entire western border of Parcel H, which is 80 acres, which by any reasonable computation with the Biltmore's proposal probably means I'm going to get a couple hundred new neighbors, where I should have 16. So go ahead, pick the survey company that's predisposed to a result, because that's exactly what this is. If you look at Mrs. Douglas's website, she is a champion of, I think I have to get the right wording right, overcoming community opposition. She's a public relations gal. Why she's attached to a 501(c) makes no sense to me, except that I think that's also very clever marketing. Cobalt is very open about the fact that when one of their billets says they create reliable data on resident priorities, balancing the ideas of a vocal minority with the needs of the township as a whole. The current document's 2.5 years old. I built in this township 20 years ago plus. And it's not, I don't live in the same shack I built. I have raised a family there. I have improved that property. It is, for all intents and purposes, a big chunk of my retirement. It's not just a house. It's not just a piece of property. It's not just an asset. It's my life. I live in a dense wood. Put your webpage up on that screen and watch the slideshow. It's the lake, it's the trees, it's the walking trails, it's a farm. Nowhere is there a picture of a development. Stop this insanity and tell the Planning Commission it's not okay to execute personal agendas. You know, the document that's being flashed about that was distributed at the polls is an awful lot like, and I printed this really so small, I'm sorry, but an item that ran as a guest editorial in The Current in February. Mr. Stanileco was the author. He did not identify himself as a planning commission member. And taking just one paragraph out of the middle, briefly, about 12 years ago, a small group of people came out against subdivision-style development, comma, some which eventually got elected, comma, then moved through policies to make roadblock development, comma. Grammar is a little tough, but as a direct result of these policies, a $30 million lawsuit was filed against Northfield Township. We got blacklisted, and almost $1 million of township money was spent to defense. Really? $1 million. That's worth checking. Okay, I'm out of time. I ask you to please put the reins on this. This is strictly about Biltmore. It's never been about anything else. You're going to convolute, you're going to set a precedent where any developer is going to change anything they want in the township. Thank you for your time.